I never used to believe that hotels could hold memories, that a place could remember fear. The first time I felt something off, I was standing in a brightly lit hotel lobby. It smelled like lemon polish and fake flowers. The receptionist handed me a keycard with a fake smile, and I smiled back with a nod, trying to act like I wasn't exhausted. I had just driven 12 hours for a conference I didn't want to attend, and all I wanted was a long shower and maybe 2 pillows under my head. But the second I stepped into that elevator, I swear, something inside me whispered, "You've been here before." I hadn't. Not physically. But my gut was screaming like it remembered something my mind didn't. That was just the beginning. Story 1. The room that wasn't supposed to exist. It was a mid-range hotel off the highway in Arizona. Nothing fancy. Not a chain I recognized. But it was cheap, available, and open late. I checked in just after midnight, and the man behind the desk, older, tired eyes, gave me a double room on the 4th floor. When I got upstairs, the hallway was unusually quiet. You know that silence that feels loaded? Like the walls are listening. It was that kind of quiet. I slid the keycard into the door, and the green light blinked me in. Inside, the room was freezing, like the AC had been running for hours, which was weird because it was set to off. The air smelled stale, a mix of dust and mildew. Still, I was too tired to care. I tossed my bag on the bed and headed straight for the bathroom. That's when I noticed the second bed had been slept in. The sheets were wrinkled. One pillow had a faint indent, and there was a small brownish stain near the edge of the comforter. My heart started racing, but I tried to stay rational. Maybe housekeeping missed it. Maybe someone had asked to switch rooms. Maybe a dozen things. Still, I called the front desk to ask for another room. "No, sir," the voice said. "You're in 404. We don't have another 404 booking tonight. That room should be empty." I hesitated. "Well, it's not. Someone's been in here." There was a pause on the line. Then, quieter, almost like a warning. "Can you describe the stain?" That chilled me more than anything. Why would they ask that? I described it. Small, brownish, like dried tea, or... No, I knew it wasn't tea. Another pause. "I'm going to send someone up," the man said. "Please wait in the hallway." The moment I stepped outside, the door shut behind me. And then, I heard it. Movement. Inside the room. Soft. Deliberate. I backed away, my spine pressed to the wall. When the staff finally arrived, a younger guy with shaky hands and a master key, the room was silent. He unlocked it, looked around, then turned to me and said, "This room was cleaned 2 days ago. We haven't assigned it since. And it doesn't even share a wall with another room." I never stayed the night. I took my bag and left, drove to the next town and slept in my car at a rest stop. The weirdest part? I checked the hotel's website later. They didn't list a 4th floor. Story 2. The Watcher Behind the Curtain. This happened during a family trip to New Orleans. My cousins and I decided to splurge on a historic hotel, the kind with chandeliers, creaky floors, and rooms with clawfoot bathtubs. We thought it would be fun, romantic even, and it was. Until the 3rd night. We'd been out all day exploring cemeteries and ghost tours. When we got back to our room, I noticed something strange. The curtains by the window were drawn shut. Not unusual in itself, but there was a shape behind them. Tall one. Not moving. I laughed nervously, thinking it was just the lamp behind it or maybe some poorly folded curtain fabric. But as I walked closer, I swear it shifted, like someone was standing there, watching. I yanked the curtain open. Nothing. Just the window, and the view of the alleyway below. I laughed it off, told myself I was overtired and letting all the ghost stories get to my head. But later that night, around 2:40 a.m., I woke up with this feeling. You know when your brain pulls you out of sleep because it knows something is wrong? Yeah, that. I sat up in bed and glanced toward the window. The curtain was open again. Wide open. I could see the streetlight reflecting off the glass. I turned to wake my cousin, but she wasn't in bed. Her blanket was rumpled. Her pillow was gone. Panicked, I called her name. No answer. And then I saw her, standing at the window, perfectly still, just staring outside. I got up and walked toward her. "Hey, what are you doing?" She didn't respond, didn't even blink. I touched her arm and she flinched so violently she almost fell. Looked at me like I'd pulled her from underwater. I don't know. I just woke up here. We never figured out how or why she got up. She had no memory of moving. No sleepwalking history. But the next morning I noticed something else. The curtain rod, the one I had yanked open earlier, it was bent. Like someone had gripped it hard. And across the glass, from the inside, were fingerprints. Huge ones. Not hers. Not mine. Larger than either of us. Pressed against the window pane as if watching. Or waiting. Story 3. The room with the locked closet. This one was different because it wasn't terrifying right away. It was slow creeping, like mold spreading behind the wallpaper. I was on a solo trip through the Pacific Northwest. Needed time to clear my head after a rough breakup and figured a little isolation wouldn't hurt. The inn I found was quaint, borderline antique, with floral wallpaper and lace curtains that looked like they hadn't been changed since the 1950s. The receptionist, an elderly woman with a voice like dry leaves, handed me a brass key. Room 6, she said. Top of the stairs. If the closet's locked, don't worry. We keep supplies in there. Fair enough. I didn't think anything of it. Room 6 was cozy. A little musty, maybe, but charming. A twin bed, a writing desk, a small armchair. And yes, the closet near the door was locked with an old padlock. I assumed they had extra linens in there or maybe cleaning stuff. I wasn't planning to snoop. But things got weird the first night. I was journaling at the desk when I heard a dull thump from inside the closet. Just once. Like something had fallen. I froze, then laughed at myself. Old buildings settle, right? Then it happened again. Thump. Thump. Like something shifting. Or moving. I stood up, my skin crawling. Pressed my ear to the door. Silence. But the moment I turned away, loud enough to make me jump, bang. Like fists against the inside. I ran downstairs, breath short, heart pounding. Told the receptionist what I'd heard. She just smiled. Not kindly. Not even nervously. It was flat. Oh, don't worry about that, she said. Sometimes the door just rattles. Nothing in there. I didn't believe her, but I didn't have the guts to push it either. I went back upstairs and tried to sleep. At 3:12 a.m. I woke up freezing. Not just cold, bone cold. Like the air had been sucked out of the room. And then I noticed it. The padlock was on the floor. The closet door was slightly ajar. Inside, it was pitch black, but I swear something was standing there, just out of reach of the light. Not visible, not really, but you know when you feel eyes on you? That sixth sense that you're being studied? I didn't move. Didn't even breathe for a few seconds. And then the door shut. Slowly. Like someone easing it closed from the inside. I grabbed my bag and bolted. Slept in my car again. The next morning, I returned for my things. The receptionist didn't look surprised. Just said, room 6 always makes people leave early. Story 4, The Whispering Walls of Room 209. Vegas is a strange place. You can feel anonymous there, like the city itself gives you permission to be someone else. So when I booked a last-minute stay in an older hotel just off the strip, I figured it'd be a good place to disappear for a bit. No neon. No cameras. Just silence. Room 209 was plain. 2 beds, a lamp, a cracked mirror. The kind of room people use when they don't plan to stay long. I noticed it the first night. The walls whispered. At first, I thought it was the plumbing. Or maybe someone watching TV in the next room. But the voices weren't coming through the walls. They were coming from them. Behind them. Soft, urgent whispers. Like someone telling secrets just out of earshot. I pressed my ear to the wall and caught fragments. My name. My full name. Something about open the door. Something about let her in. I didn't sleep. The second night, it got worse. The whispering was louder. Desperate. And there were knocks now. Short, sharp ones. No rhythm. Just random, persistent tapping. I called the front desk and they moved me, thank God, to the 3rd floor. As I packed, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Scratched into the wood of the nightstand under the lamp, don't stay in 209. She's still hungry. Story 5, The Man in the Mirror. This story is the hardest to talk about because it followed me home. It started at a boutique hotel in Chicago. Artsy, industrial decor. Concrete walls. Minimalist furniture. My room had a massive mirror covering most of the wall across from the bed. It made the room look bigger, but something about it felt off. Slightly warped, like the glass was too thick or too old. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed it. A figure in the mirror. Behind me. Tall. Still. No face. Just a blur where the head should be. I turned around. Nothing. Looked back. Gone. The next few nights, the figure returned. Closer each time. But only in the mirror. Never in the room. And I didn't tell anyone. Not until I got home. Because the mirror in my bedroom? The one I'd owned for years? He was in there now too. Standing. Watching. Always just a little closer than before. After that final hotel stay, I started seeing him in every reflective surface. Not always clear. Sometimes just a shadow, a shimmer of motion. Once, I saw him in the reflection of a dark window on a train. He wasn't sitting. He was standing behind me. I visited therapists. I burned sage. I threw out every mirror in my house. Nothing helped. He wasn't just an image anymore. I started dreaming of him. In those dreams, I'd wake up in strange hotel rooms. Always the same layout. Same pale yellow walls. Same faded carpet. I'd walk toward the bathroom and the mirror would be cracked. And behind the cracks, he'd be waiting. Every time he reached out. But I always woke up before he touched me. Until I didn't. One night, the dream went longer. In it, I looked into the mirror and didn't see myself at all. Just him. Filling the space. Stretching his limbs in my skin like it didn't fit right. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. It was like I'd been pushed into the other side. Watching from behind the glass as he took my place. I woke up gasping. But I wasn't in bed. I was standing. In front of the mirror. I haven't been the same since. And I don't stay in hotels anymore. I know what you might be thinking. Maybe I hallucinated it all. Maybe stress and exhaustion warped my mind. But here's the thing. I've spoken to others since then. People with stories just like mine. Strangers from forums and comment sections, and whispers passed around in smoky bar corners. They talk about rooms that don't appear on maps. Locked doors that open from the inside. Mirrors that show someone else's life. They all say the same thing. Hotels are thresholds. Places between places. Transit zones where reality thins. And sometimes, if you're not careful, something else slips in. So the next time you check in, pay attention. Check the sheets. Listen to the walls. Avoid the mirrors after dark. And if you hear your name whispered in a voice that isn't yours, don't answer. Just leave. Because hotels don't forget. But some of them don't forgive either.